Hello everyone, thank you for joining us for Joy in Our Town. I'm Aaron Motley. Joy in Our Town brings you information regarding the issues and problems we face in our local communities in hopes of finding some solutions. On the first portion of our program, we're going to be talking about youth, and particularly youth in violence, or talking about youth violence, and we're going to have with us Andrea Price and also Daryl Price with Antoinette Boykin, and they are with Difference Makers, and this is an organization led by youth to deter crime in Montgomery. We thank you all for being with us on Joy in Our Town today, and this is really a pleasure to have each one of you to come and talk about how that young people are involved in turning other young people away from crime and violence. And I just want to start with you, Andrea, to talk to us about your feelings about young people getting into crime and violence. Why would you want to get involved to try to stop this?
Because I want everyone to either be like a safe community and everyone to like stop the violence and be able to get along with each other.
So when this kind of organization started forming, you thought, well, hey, here's something that I can get involved in to turn those situations around. What kind of things are you doing to help to deal with your peers and trying to help them to get away from that thinking that I'm going to commit crimes and violent crimes?
I tell them that I think it's a bad idea, and I tell them that I try to get them to come to church with me, and I pray for them, and I read them Bible scriptures and things like that.
Have you been seeing a problem with violence in Montgomery?
Yes, a lot of it.
And much of it involves young people?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to move right over here to Daryl and see what you're thinking. Daryl, your parents actually got this program started, but they started it with your help, and you had some input in that, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, tell us what was going on at the time when you and your parents were thinking that we need to do something about the violence in Montgomery.
Well, we just thought of the idea about how all the bad things that are going on in Montgomery, and we was thinking how we could get the youth, because the youth are the ones being mostly affected by this. And we was thinking, how can we get the youth to better themselves so that we can stop the violence in Montgomery, as well as educate our youth and better our communities.
Okay. What's it done for you personally?
For me personally, it's taught me a lot about the different types of violence, because there's more than just one. And it's helped me learn about how to plan a project as well as work in the project, so that we'll be doing service learning, which is not just working, but learning about what you're working for.
Okay, well, let's pick up from there, because what y'all are doing is you decided that doing community services would be a way to direct their energy from the streets and doing things that they shouldn't do and get involved in some kinds of community services. Tell me about some of the community services that y'all had the idea of doing.
Well, on Martin Luther King Day of 2005, we had a voters registration drive, and then we had a voter and election process workshop, and I believe it was March of 2006. And on April 22nd, we started, which was National and Global Youth Service Day. We had the Youth Violence Prevention Awareness Campaign at the Gibbs Village Community Center. Okay.
All right. And so these ideas, again, they came primarily from the kids?
Yes, and with the help from the adults who are advisors for us.
Okay. Back to you, Andrea. When Antoinette, excuse me. Did I call you Andrea?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, tell us about what does it take to organize and even come up with these ideas? Are all the ideas that y'all come up with accepted by the adults?
Yes, they try to work with what we want to do, and they put their ideas with ours, and they give us information and help us with it, and just go along with what we doing.
Oh, okay. And what do y'all do? You come up, you sit down on paper and start writing down some community services that you can come up with?
Sometimes we write on paper, and other times we just discuss it out loud together and tell them, and then just new ideas pop up, and we just write it all down and try to work it out.
Okay. Now, the next thing, I noticed that in the brochure, there's something in there about peer mentoring. Maybe you can start by explaining what peer mentoring is, because that's a part of y'all's services.
Well, To me, peer mentoring is helping like people my age and people I be around, helping them to like stop being in a lot of crimes because it's like hurting the community, and it's like most of us like 15 to 17 or 18 years old are having guns and killing people and just going around in gangs and things like that. So I want to stop. I want to be someone to help stop all the crimes in the community.
Okay, and you are how old?
I'm 15 years
You
old.
are 15 years old, and you are a 15-year-old leader, and your peer groups look to you for advice and for someone who is setting an example for them, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel good because I know someone looks up to me and they actually understand me and listen to me.
Okay, so most of them are listening to you?
Yes, sir.
All right. What about those who don't really listen? How you feel about that?
I really don't say nothing to them. I just really pray for them and hope that they would listen to me more and like think about the decision, and maybe if I keep telling them, they'll like eventually set in, then they'll stop doing the crimes.
Okay. Well, Daryl, do you think it's making a difference so far?
Yes, sir.
All right. Tell me what's been happening.
Well, what's been happening is it's actually been teaching us, and we have actually taught others, and it's spreading out because now we're starting to get new members joining and with our schools, and we're just telling our friends and we're having fun.
Wow, okay. Now that's important too, to have fun doing what you're doing. All right, well, I'm going to move on now to your mom. You're the real Andrea.
I am the real Andrea.
Okay. Andrea,
Yes.
Okay, we want to get that straight. But tell us, you, your husband, and your son came up with the idea of difference makers. And is it making a difference as far as adults catching on to what's going on?
I think so, and let me just kind of correct you a little bit. I'm a single parent of two young men, as a matter of fact, 12 and 13 years old, and the other person that you're referring to is not my husband. He's actually the co-founder, and that's Minister Boykins, which is Antoinette's father, actually, yes. But
thank you so much.
It is catching on. We're now are working with the different community groups and also churches, and we're trying to spread the word a little bit more to those different communities and different organizations to bring them more aboard. The more they hear about it, the more they want to participate with us. And I think that's the key there, is to pull more people in to spread the word about what difference makers are doing.
Okay.
When we bring them in, the other thing is to ensure that they understand that it's youth-led, because it's so difficult for adults not to be in charge. And so we're having a difficult time with that too, but we have to be mindful of it, that this is their organization.
Okay, very good. Now, tell me, what things have you been seeing before starting a group like this? You had to have seen something going on in the communities that would make you say, somebody's got to step in and do something. And did you see a lot of crime involving youth?
There is a lot of crime involving our youth, and as I'm looking at the papers and looking at the television station every single day, there is something that's going on, and it's not a number that is decreasing. I think the number is increasing. And so it pushed us to a point where, what can we do to stop this? How can we get youth involved in something a little bit more positive to redirect them into a different atmosphere? And then the thing is to, how can we get the peers, the young people, to reach the other young people? Because we've tried and we've doing so much with the different organizations that we're with, but we truly believe that it's going to be this generation of young people that's going to reach their own.
Okay, now that sounds like a real key right there. This generation is going to have to reach their own. Now, let's pick up from there. Why is that important? I mean, do you think they'll listen to their peers more so than they would an adult?
I think so, because we're dealing also with the respect level. And the reason why there's such a problem, because the young folks don't understand respect. However, they will sometimes listen to their peers because they're so close to their age, and they tend to understand them a little bit better because they're going through the same thing. They think we're just old fogies. We don't know what we're talking about. We haven't experienced what they're experiencing. We don't live in the world that they live in. So we believe that the young people can really reach out and they can touch and grab, and it's bridging that gap. And then somewhere along the way, they'll bridge the gap between the adults and the young generation. And I think by pulling in the adults that are working with difference makers and working with the youth, that'll make the difference there.
Okay. Daryl, what do you hope for the future as far as this is crime in Montgomery is concerned?
Well, I hope that the crime goes down. I know crime probably won't stop, but we can at least reduce it and make a difference and have less youth violence in the communities. And that we have lots of more members and that our projects just blow up.
Good, good. How about you, Antoinette? What do you see for the future?
I hope that not only that the youth stop doing crime, but they will get their parents and then if they're involved to get them to stop the crimes too, because that's probably where they're getting it from, seeing their parents do it. But some people, I hope that, like he said, we get more members and everything just work out good.
Okay. You hit a key right there. The reason why some young people are getting involved in crimes and violence, you're thinking that they're seeing something from adults, perhaps their own parents, something that's coming out of their home that's leading them into crime. What do you talk to kids, what do you think they are seeing and mimicking?
Maybe they see like their dad or their mom fighting or something, and then that's how they like get they get a girlfriend or boyfriend or something and think that it's all right to beat up on them or to kill them or something. Or they could see somebody else in that family, like their aunt or uncle, that killed somebody or hurt somebody, or they think it's fun or funny or something.
What part does the media play, do you think, in youth committing crimes? Maybe both of you can address that. Maybe television or movies. Yes.
Well, like in like music videos, the children are seeing everything like beating up people, shooting, drug usage, cursing, and they're thinking, oh, they're rich, they're doing that, so I think I should do it too.
Oh, so really it looks cool. It looks like it's something it's glamorous, and so they begin to use those kinds of things as their role models. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm sure we were running out of time, but y'all are probably working on some projects to kind of help them to see that for themselves, and that you yourselves are staying away from the things that would lead to crime and violence. I thank y'all for being leaders in the community. And we respect you for that. So I appreciate it. Maybe y'all can come back on sometime when we have a little bit more time, okay? And we can find out more about what's going on with these projects. And we appreciate you for being with us on Joy in Our Town. That's not all. We do have more coming up on Joy in Our Town, so stay with us. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the second portion of Joy in Our Town. We're going to be talking about families, in particular a very unique family situation. We're going to be talking to Angela Spackman, and she's a director with Adullam House. Adullam House provides services for children of incarcerated parents, and we thank you for being with us on Joy in Our Town today. And I can imagine a lot of things dealing with children who are living in a situation where their parents are incarcerated and they're going to have to be basically raised by someone else. But you all are providing the proper services to help them deal with their situations, and also working with the mothers who have their children in another place while they are in prison. So I'd like you to start off by talking to us about some of the effects that it's having on the children who are staying at the Adullam House, knowing that their parents are in prison. What are you seeing that's happening with the children?
I was just sharing with one of the ladies out in the hallway. It's a tremendous environment right now, just a tremendous feeling and atmosphere among the children. It does feel like a really large family. I was watching some of our older boys. We have two 14-year-olds and a 15-year-old boy, and I was watching them this morning before I left, and they were playing with two 4-year-olds and a 5-year-old that were rolling around on the floor like a bunch of bear cubs, and they carried them out on the back porch to play out there, and they were just like older brothers and younger brothers, and just a tremendous atmosphere. I think people
so they become a family with each other.
They really do. They really care about each other and look out for each other. And I think people anticipate, because you're looking after children of incarcerated parents, that you have a bunch of troubled teens on your hands. But these are kids that anybody would be proud to call their own. They're wonderful children.
So you're not really seeing anything a whole lot different in the children just because their parents happen to be incarcerated. I mean, they're just like anyone else.
A lot of it is to do with the age that the children come to us, and also the fact that we have been quite selective. We are not a detention facility, so we don't take children who are exhibiting massive amounts of behavioral problems. I'm very careful to keep this a home environment for the children that we have. It's just a safe home for them.
But the separation has to have some kind of effect on the children, no matter what. So tell us a little about what things you do see when the children are first separated from the parents and brought into an environment like a Dulham house.
Some of our children, apart from the newborns, we have babies that come to us almost the day that they're born, but the other children have often been through a whole series of traumatic experiences before they come to us. For instance, we have a 5-year-old that's just walking on his toes all the time and has been through a really violent background before he came to us, and it's taken him really a whole year to unwind and just become a happy, contented little boy. And I think the stability of what we're doing and just regular schedule and the consistency of everything is just a great comfort for the kids. They're used to having been passed from one caregiver to another and not knowing where they're going to be tomorrow or the next day. Many children of incarcerated parents didn't live consistently with their parents even before the parent was incarcerated, maybe because of a drug habit or something that was going on in the parent's life. They've already been bounced around a million times. And so when they come to a Dulham house, they find a tremendous security there.
I see. Well, tell us on as far as the parents are concerned, what kind of services do you provide for them?
Well, we take our children in regularly to visit with the mothers. We usually let the mothers dictate the level of relationship that they want to have with their child. And we go in on a regular basis with aid to inmate mothers to visit in Julia Tutwiler prison. And when you get there, the girls want to know how much does he weigh on his last doctor's visit, what is he eating, and all the normal things that a mom would want to know about her baby. And of course we correspond with them. We have photographs sent in so that they can see how they're growing and how they're developing and what they're doing at home. Our kids do a variety of activities. They get to do horseback riding every week and gymnastics every week, and they do AYSO soccer and different things like that. So for many of the moms, this is incredible that their kids are getting to do all these wonderful things that they never got to do themselves. And of course then you always get an unreasonable mother. I was sharing with you before that you've done everything that you know to do with your child, but you are dealing with inmates, and you'll take a child in to see them and they don't like the haircut, or they don't like something in particular, or the color of shoe that they're wearing. So you're many times dealing with people that are very hard to please.
Yes, I can imagine. You get the ups and downs, and certain days that you're appreciated, certain days that you're not.
That's right.
But you all have been doing this for a period of time and have seen, well, really success in your program. But there are many all around in Alabama and other areas as well who have a family with a situation similar to this, with children being separated from the parents. And tell us how important is intervention? Someone's got to intervene and try to keep the family together in some way or another, or keep as much normality about a family as they can. How important is that, especially when a child is dealing with the fact that their parent is in jail or in prison?
For our children, it was a lifeline. it's the very thing that prevents them becoming where their parents are in the next 10 years. Without intervention, these are the future inmates of tomorrow. And I often say I believe that the answer to crime is not in the electric chair, it's in the high chair. I believe that the sooner that we can get these children and raise them in the gospel, I believe that's the answer for every one of these children, to be raised like my children and your children, just knowing the security of a Christian home. And that's the answer for every one of them. It's the only thing that will break the cycle. You know, social workers can put a new coat on the man, but only God can put a new man in the coat. And I believe that's what we need to do, is reach out to these children with the love of Jesus Christ, and that will totally transform their lives. The kids that we have are tremendous kids with all the potential in the world. It's a wonderful God-given opportunity to do what we're doing.
And you all only are able to house 20 children, is that right?
Well, we built the house that we have now. We designed it with 20 children in mind. We have 27 children.
Okay.
And we are building as fast as we can. We have 2 other houses which are actually larger than the first house, which are going up on the property right now. In fact, we had a local workman arrive with 8 of his crew members last Tuesday, and they have worked every single day since then and have decked the roof. We had 2 work crews arrive from Atmore, Alabama last Saturday, and they worked all day and put on the roof shingles, and it's been a tremendous, I think last Saturday we had about 4 or 5 different churches represented at a Dulham house, and everybody just giving sacrificially of their time and energy to make this happen for the kids.
Now, you all are not building just because it's fun to build. You're building because there is such a need, and we're always hearing about prison overcrowding, and so now this is going to affect the children of those who are going to prison, and now they need a place to stay. And so this is the purpose of this building and adding on to a Dulham house. So tell us about this. I mean, this is really not a good problem to have. I mean, in other words, to see that there is such a great need.
It's an overwhelming need. You know, the majority of people that I've found as I've reached out for help, because we're doing this entirely by faith. We don't have any government funding. And so we've just trusted God to put up these buildings. In fact, the local architect who drew these plans for us for free, when he looked at the ambition of the plans, 2 of these huge houses, he said, "Have you come into money or something?" And we said, "No, but we're just going to trust God to build these buildings." And so we've reached out to the local community to help us. But people tend to think of missions as overseas. I'd like to go to Africa and build over there. And this is an overwhelming need. It's an overwhelming need. You know, we receive babies who are sick. We're dealing with inmates, so we have, you know, disease and all kind of things to take into account. We need to isolate babies. We need this space so quickly, it's not even real. We're 2/3 through building a chapel for the children, and that's been in the pipeline for 3 years, and so the need is overwhelming.
Okay, and your overall goal is it to keep the family together, or what are you really trying to do by keeping these children for a period of time, or is it as long as the parents are incarcerated, or until they go to foster care or adopted? What's the overall goal here?
Where it's at all possible, the children are going to be reunited with their mothers. And sometimes at the outset, that seems a possibility, and as time progresses, it becomes apparent that it's not going to be possible. We ourselves have just adopted a child that we've had for 9 years, where the mother realized that she was not going to be able to ever get to the point where she was going to be able to care for him. And sometimes that will happen. Sometimes the mother won't return for her child. So every situation is very unique, but where it's possible, these children are going to be reunited with their moms.
So the public really needs to be informed and aware of the fact that there are children out there who you know, that the people who are going to jail and going to prison, they have families too.
That's right.
And what's going to happen to even their children while they are serving time.
That's right. Many of these moms are tremendous moms. They've got, some of them are a first-time offender, and they've received stolen property or done something which they technically knew was wrong, and they've learned their lesson, and they're going to come out and they will never be back. Some of the moms are drug offenders that are repeat offenders, and so every situation is very very unique.
Tell us about these families reuniting, because those who do get released from prison or jail, and now that they get to reunite with their children, what are some ways to prepare the children and the parents to meet again and become a family once again?
Well, our visitation at the prison is a really integral part of that it's really important for us to keep that bonding and that communication there with the moms, sending in the photographs, making her aware of every little milestone that the baby reaches. We actually had 2 babies go home last month. If I was to tell you about reuniting the mothers, from our standpoint, that's the hardest part of what we do, because we're losing a baby that we've lost our hearts to.
Yeah.
So it's always, you wake up in the morning and this is the day that mom's coming. But then when you see the thrill on their faces and how they weep over the baby and they thank you for what you've done, and they're so excited. This is the baby that they've worked for and they've waited for, and it's the most wonderful thing in the world. And it's wonderful to me that all the mums tend to keep in touch with us.
Oh,
They'll let you know if they aren't doing well. They'll let you know she's walking now, you know, she's in school. And we have a local young girl that's just doing absolutely incredible.
So there is a happy story at the end of this in most
many of
cases.
them, yeah.
Well, we thank you so much for being with us on Joy in
been
Our
good to be
Town,
here.
Angela Spackman, and you all keep up the good work.
Thank you.
We're thankful for you. Well, we are out of time for this week's Joy in Our Town, and we hope you'll join us again next week at the same time, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye for now.